very good evening to you, and thank you so much for staying tuned to Y254 TV. I hope you're having a lovely evening and you've had a wonderful day. This is the first Thursday of July, and we've marked the halfway mark of 2025, and it's so crazy how fast time is moving. But we're here and we're live. This is the Power Talk Show. I am your host, Cheryl Blessing. And I'm excited about this evening's conversation because it's something that we've been talking about. I think we've been focusing on it particularly for one gender. The last month in June, we were focusing on the men's mental health. But today, I want a gentleman to talk to us about mental health in general, particularly mental health that you can easily access, because that's one of the things that we have a challenge with, accessing affordable medical mental health care. So that's what I want us to talk about this evening, mental health in your pocket. And I'm joined by Dr. Theophilus Jumba, who is a co-founder and the CEO of PsychX. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm happy to be here today.
It's such a pleasure to host you, and I'm so excited about the conversation we're having because you have developed something that gives you accessible mental health services. And that's something that I think we've been talking about for the past few years, the accessibility of affordable services, and something that you can easily get at any time, at the convenience of your home, when you're on the go. So this evening, Dr. Theophilus is going to tell us about PsychX, the website that offers you mental health services. And I want you to go on our platforms at Y254. We asked you a question. We want to know from you, would you rather have therapy in person, or would you rather have an AI facilitate your sessions? Because I know with the African culture and our traditions, we don't really like talking about our problems. We don't like going to someone and physically sitting down and having someone run around with our secrets. We may like to talk to something like a different platform. We may like to speak to a therapist through a website, you know, something that's not directly in person. So go on our platforms at Y254 across all socials and let us know what you think. Would you rather have therapy in person, or would you rather have an AI facilitate your sessions? So this is one conversation I'm very passionate about, mental health. And Dr. Theophilus, I just want you to talk to us kidogo about it, because you know you're a gentleman, you're an African man, let's point that out. And with our culture, therapy is not something that is encouraged. It's not something that's openly talked about. And then in the past few years, sisi ndo tumeleta hizi conversations that, you know, I need therapy, and it has become something that has it's more recognized, more acknowledged. In the last, I'd say 25 years. Before that, it was almost non-existent or not spoken about in Africa. So tell us how you got into the field of mental health.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Blessing, for that. My story is actually very interesting because my background is in pharmacy. I'm a pharmacist by training. So there was this one time that I was on an assignment, internship that is, sponsored by the government. So I was taken to Nyeri, and one of these days that I was going to work, I met an individual who came to the pharmacy where I was attending to clients, and then he gave me a prescription. And essentially the role of a pharmacist is to screen through a prescription and fill it. So I did that for the first day and gave him instructions on how to use this particular drug. So the next day I was still in the pharmacy again, and then this individual came back again. So he was like, Daktari, I need this prescription filled again. So using my knowledge in pharmacy, I said, no, there's something wrong here. So I told him, I'm not going to fill this prescription today because I gave you a dose for 30 days. So he became very agitated, and it really became very personal to some extent. And he began insulting me, and it became so violent to an extent that instead of retaliating or talking back, I closed for that day and went home. So you want to imagine an employee of the government closes the pharmacy and goes home and fails to attend to the rest. So my supervisor called me that evening and asked why I had not, I stopped or I closed the pharmacy. So I told her that essentially I cannot be able to stand an environment where clients come across the window and insult me and then nothing is done, because at that point it was going to be very violent and the client was really insulting me. So the next day when I was driving to work, this same client stopped me on the way and he told me, Daktari, I'm really sorry. That was not me yesterday. I don't really know what came over me. I didn't take it kindly at first. So I just rolled up the window and went to work. Then he followed me, still came to the pharmacy and was very remorseful. I started apologizing again. But then from that conversation, something hit me and I began thinking, what could be the problem with this individual? So I took him to the side and we started having a conversation just to try to find out what is really the issue with this person. Yeah. Then I realized this gentleman is a university graduate. So he finished university and then went back to the village because he was really frustrated that he didn't find a job to do. And so because he was idle, he ran into other things. Now, drug and substance abuse in the village, it was really rampant. And if we know about Nyeri, we talk about Nyeri, there are some conversations that go around, especially with the use of alcohol. And he was in that mix. So I realized that this is somebody who has a lot of potential, but it just happens that he's in the wrong environment and nobody's taking care of him. Yeah. So any day he comes to the hospital, he just finds a different practitioner, they fill the prescription, he goes away, abuses, comes back. And his mental state deteriorates completely. So I kept thinking about this throughout the period of time that I was on internship. And then I enrolled, that September I enrolled, I told myself I have to do something about this. So I enrolled for a master's in clinical psychology. Immediately I finished the internship, I enrolled. But that time again, once I enrolled, I realized this solution cannot wait longer. There are some people who really need my help. And so I chose the route of putting medication aside and trying to work with professionals who are already there in the field and already doing something about mental health to provide a solution that is affordable, that is effective, and that is readily available to anyone who needs it. And this was during COVID, that is 2022. And so I joined a program funded by Alan and Jill Gray, for philanthropists from South Africa. So they were able to take me through an incubation phase, so how to formulate a business from an idea and how to be able to generate something that people can use. And that's how PsychX came about. And now we have been working with people, young and old, to meet professionals at their point of need.
Yeah, I really love that. That's a very touching story. Yeah. And the thing that has stood out for me is the fact that the minute you notice this person has come again, before the period that the 30 days is done, you flagged that. Because so many people, you know, when they're working, they just go through the motion of letter prescription, nikupatie dawa, you move on to the next person. But you were attentive, you were keen. Have you always been that attentive of people around you, Ama?
I think I enjoy practicing pharmacy.
Yeah.
And one good thing probably people do not know is that pharmacists and doctors, before you start practicing, you take an oath. Just the same way people take a Bible and take an oath. As a pharmacist, you take an oath to service. So in this oath, you swear to providing or ensuring you do good at all times. We call it beneficence, and do no harm. So that's called non-maleficence. So that has always stuck with me since I put my signature onto that oath. Yeah. That has always stood with me, and I feel good when I sit down with a client and explain to them that what you're doing is wrong and you can do it differently. So that has kept me going, and that informs my approach to attending to my clients.
I love that, because that also speaks of some seriousness that you take when you do your work, when you're actually going through the motions of it. Because it's not just a job for you, it's something that you're passionate about. Yeah. And then you decided to find an immediate solution. So while you were thinking about that, what were you thinking about? Were you thinking about a clinic, setting up some services for guys to come in? And was there a facility in Nyeri County that you identified that was working with people who have mental health challenges?
Yeah, so what I wanted to do first was to really prove that there's a problem, right? So I identified one, but now I wanted to know, is there a real problem with regards to this? So I have an idea of what I want to do, yes, but is there a problem that I'm solving? And that's why I enrolled to that program, and we were able to do some research. First of all, to understand, do people know what is mental health and what is mental illness? So we started from that point of view. And we realized there are really diverse views about what mental health is or mental illness is.
Yeah.
So people will have different connotations and different perspectives. Some people will call mental illness to be witchcraft. I think that is a common phenomenon that we see.
Yeah.
People call mental illness as madness. So you find somebody, probably they're just maybe picking peppers here and there, so you are quick to say that is madness. Somebody is quick to tell the other person, this person is heartbroken. Somebody is quick to say, amerogwa, simply because that is what the society has really configured us to think.
Yeah.
And I realized that there is a lot of misalignment between understanding and knowledge of mental health. So that became number one problem. So there's a question of awareness. We went further to ask about if people know where to get the help that they need, so access. And we realized that people only mention about Madare. And the moment you talk about Madare, then that is, people say that's a place of madness, mad people, right?
Yeah.
But that's really not the case. But we really know Madare as a place for mad people.
Yeah.
So you realize people don't know what is mental health or mental illness, and then there's a problem of access. And then the other big factor was cost. So somebody says, hey, mental health is very expensive. But you realize this person is able to afford to go to a hospital and pay a bill of even over 100,000.
Yeah.
People are able to fundraise and then raise money for somebody to, be admitted or undergo a surgery. But mental health, you realize somebody will sit back and say it's expensive. So we wanted to now come up with a solution that covers all the three things: cost, access, and awareness. And that's why we say now, because the generation is moving towards digital and everyone is talking about a digital space. So let's provide a digital solution that provides access to mental health information, and then a platform where people can be able to access professionals with a lot of ease. So therefore, you don't have to go line up in a hospital and say, I'm waiting to be scheduled for a therapy session with a psychologist from this hospital or this place. So you can easily, at the touch of a button on your phone, book a session and attend.
Yeah, and get it. And as you've talked about that, the lack of awareness is something that we are still facing to date. We're still trying to educate people on what mental health awareness is and what it pertains to. And people think that it just relates to you having a disorder, you having either ADHD, bipolar, or something that's extreme. But when you talk about mental health, what are you talking about? So when you educate someone, when you go to someone who maybe comes from a rural setting and they have no idea what you're talking about, how do you define mental health to them?
So the typical definition that we use, we borrow from World Health Organization, where we talk about mental health is a state of the mind where somebody is able to think, behave, and act in a manner that is able to lead to productivity at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So if you're in a state where you're thinking, you're feeling, and your actions are not in line, or are in line, then you're mentally healthy. But in the process or in the event where you're thinking, you're feeling, and your behavior is not in line, then it means you have a mental health issue. Then it means you need to be able to be checked up. Being in a stable mental health state is where you're able to productively implement or execute your daily activities. So for example, if you're reporting to work today, you're able to enjoy working and you're able to meet deliverables as set for you by maybe your job description or your employer. So in the event you're not able to do that, then that is a mental health challenge. And important to note is that anybody can be affected by mental health issues. Mental health issues are not for specific types of people, because we are social beings, we interact every day, we come across different stressors. Mental health challenges are part and parcel of all of us, and we always need at some point to go in for a therapy session for realignment so that we are back to our normal state of function.
Yeah, I like that because, you know, you've explained it so simply, but basically when there's a disconnect between how you're feeling, behaving and thinking, that's when you know something is up.
Yes.
And so many people like to think that, you know, mental health is for the wealthy people. You know, there's that perspective, because you've talked about people thinking that the services are expensive, the services are inaccessible. And then when we talk about mental health, the one place we know for sure is Madare, as you've said. And we don't realize that there are other smaller facilities. There are psychiatry hospitals, the government hospitals have some facilities that you can go and speak to someone. And it's so funny that even the age, we don't realize it can start from a very early age. So I want to show you some facts about mental health, just to show you how badly or how much it's affected us. And we've probably been ignoring it for the longest time. But when it comes to the age, we have mental health disorders that affect 14% of adolescents worldwide. So that is 1 in every 7 adolescent has experienced some sort of mental health challenge. That cuts across from depression, anxiety, as little as stress, you feeling like you have an identity crisis. Nearly 50% of all mental health conditions develop before the age of 14. And that's crazy because nearly 50%, that's nearly half of them, and 75 before the age of 24. And these are very fundamental ages, because that's when someone is developing, you're young, you're growing. And we don't understand that sometimes our environments, sometimes the people around us, the things that we look at, the things we consume, they affect our mental health. And if we don't address it at an early age, then it's very easy for you to have a challenge later on in life. In Kenya, older adults 60 plus age are reported to have lower rates of mental health issues, while they're at 24.2%, while the younger adults have a higher rate of mental health issues, going as high as 45%. And I think this also speaks of the different trends, because in the past, people did not complain of as much mental health issues as we do in the present. We're going to figure out why there's that disparity. And when we go to the gender, because we also have some contrast between the male and the female gender, globally, over 1 billion individuals are living with a mental health condition, and women are approximately twice as likely as men to experience mood and anxiety disorders, while men account for nearly 75% of all suicide deaths globally, with higher rates of substance use disorders. So women are more likely to suffer from mood and anxiety disorders. They suffer twice as much as men, and the men account for 75% of the suicide deaths globally. And that means that men are more action-oriented when it comes to mental health crises and issues, and they're more likely to engage in substance abuse than women are. And Theophilus, when you were talking about the situation that you started in when you were in Nyeri, this was a gentleman who got into substance abuse. And we see a trend of so many guys getting into the same alcoholism, you know, other drugs, because it's the quickest way for you to try and get away from your feelings. People think, you know, when I'm drinking, nenda nasahau, then we forget that tomorrow you'll wake up, you'll have the same issues. But it's easier for you to get into that. It's easier for your group of friends to tell you, let's go drink, than them telling you, let's sit down and have a conversation about what you're dealing with. So why do you feel like these statistics are the way they are? Why do you think men are more likely to abuse substances and women are more likely to have mood and anxiety disorders?
Well, I think this is based on how our society is structured. So when you're talking about men, men are told to man up, right? So by just the mention of man up, it means take your issues and handle them like other men.
Yeah.
So we have been structured in a way that when a man comes out and talks about their challenges, the challenges they're going through, or they need help, or they call for help, then the society is quick to say, weak. I think you've had a statement where you're weak. Men are referred to being weak simply because they went online and started, you know, somebody just broke down into tears. So that aspect really introduces an aspect of stigma. So when you're going through a mental health challenge, a man feels like they have to bulk it in or sulk it in.
Yeah.
And then what will happen is the more you sulk it in, the more it grows, it builds on each other. And then that's why you see a crisis where 75% of the suicide cases are attributed to men.
Yeah.
Simply because we sulk in so many issues, we put them together, and then they are overwhelming to an extent that we cannot address them anymore.
Yeah.
Even if probably help comes, it will be too late. Compared to women, you realize that women will sit back in a particular corner and just talk. People will talk about udaku or something, but essentially that's a way of debriefing. We call it debriefing. So somebody has had a very rough day at work, then they find their colleague and then they just seated and talking. It is very common to see women having a phone call conversation for a really long time and laughing and making jokes about it and talking about a situation. That's a way of de-escalating the situation to an extent that now, by the end of that conversation, it is gone out or it faded away and somebody is able to function normally again.
Yeah.
So I think it is the right time to have genuine conversations and talk to our men and say, look, we need to talk. We need to have conversations. We need to open up and talk about these issues.
Yeah.
The final thing is the responsibility that has been given to a man. I believe, probably from those who believe in the story of creation, the man was given the responsibility to take care of the home, provide and fend for the family.
Yeah.
That is true. But then, if you're not mentally okay, then you might not be able to fulfill your responsibilities of fending for the family.
Yeah.
So we need to normalize having conversations of, saying, I think this thing is affecting me. I think I need help. I think I need to be supported in this particular manner to be able to, execute my functions. The aspect of mood for women and the related issues, it has to do with, number one, women with the hormones. Women experience significant changes in their body hormones and the likes. And at times, the aspect of hormonal changes would lead to body changes in the woman's body. Probably a woman will be more easily likely to gain weight. A woman will be more easily likely to, just change their figure and the way they look. So how our society is again configured is we look at a woman and say, now check your dam. So it is very easy for men to sit in a corner and say, check your dam, check your dam. Simply because men are visual beings, that's what is said. So the moment a woman is objectified and then we start talking about how they look and how bad they look or how good they look, that plays a factor in self-esteem and how they feel, and then eventually turns into a mood functionality. So in the event there's a change in image and there's a negative connotation to it, then women are likely to bounce into mood disorders and mood issues.
Because the contrast between the genders is very clear, because the women are more vocal when it comes to our issues. We vocalize them, we talk to our friends, we talk to our cousins, our relatives, our sisters, whereas the men bottle up emotions. So when you bottle them up, it gets to a point where you need to take action, and the action sometimes can be drastic, and in some cases you become suicidal and people can't take their lives. And for the women, because of the hormonal changes, I found out some years back that we have 4 moods in the cycle in a month, and that's crazy to think about because you never know, depending on where you're at in the month, the mood changes, and it's very easy for you to get the mood and the anxiety disorders. So I want us to take a very, very short break at this point, and when we come back, I want us to get deeper into the website PsychX. I want us to see how it works, talk about it, and also figure out why are the younger people more, why are they dealing with more mental health challenges than the older guys. Go on our platforms right now and tell us, would you rather speak to someone in person or speak to an AI about your mental health issues? Our question is posted across all socials at Y254, and we're going to come back and talk about the platform that Theophilus has co-founded, and so stay tuned for that. I can't wait to hear from you. I'm going to sample your comments when we come back. So let's take a very short break. I'll see you soon.